and welcome. I'm Andy Miocz and you're watching A News. Here are the headlines. Biden signs stopgap funding bill averting government shutdown. U.S. military conducts airstrikes on Houthi targets in Yemen, mistakenly shoots down own fighter jet. Former Assad forces surrender weapons in Damascus. Thank you for tuning in. The White House has announced that President Joe Biden signed a stopgap funding bill into law, extending government funding into March and avoiding a shutdown. The Democratic-controlled Senate, in an 85-11 vote, passed the bill to continue government funding 38 minutes after it expired at midnight. The package had earlier cleared the Republican-controlled House of Representatives with bipartisan support, defying President-elect Donald Trump's demand to also greenlight trillions of dollars in new debt. The U.S. said it carried out a series of airstrikes against a missile storage site and command facilities in the Yemeni capital Sana'a, operated by the Iran-backed Houthi group. U.S. Central Command added it also hit multiple Houthi drones and an anti-ship cruise missile. After these strikes, an American fighter jet has been shot down over the Red Sea in an apparent friendly fire incident, the U.S. military has said. Both crewmen from the FA-18 Hornet ejected safely, with one suffering minor injuries, according to Central Command. Over in Mayotte, in the aftermath of Cyclone Chido, the French island territory faces severe food and water shortages. In the capital, residents queuing for water urged President Emmanuel Macron for more aid.
Although days have passed since the cyclone struck Mayotte, people are still experiencing the tragic consequences of the natural disaster. In Mamoudzou, the capital of Mayotte, some neighborhoods have been reduced to ruins. Aid distribution has been slow, leaving many in a desperate situation. Local residents have lined up outside the city's supermarket to obtain water.
We've been here since 10 a.m. to get water, because water is very important, and getting only one pack of bottles is not enough.
Healthcare workers have reported that they are preparing for an increase in diseases due to the presence of unburied bodies and the difficulties people are facing in accessing clean drinking water. The situation in Mayotte remains dire after Cyclone Chido. President Macron arrived in Mayotte on Thursday and was met with an angry reception in the city of Pamandzi. Residents shouted and booed, accusing the government of failing to respond promptly to the crisis.
We don't understand what he came to do. In fact, I heard someone on TV say that he could have taken a postcard. That would have been enough. I don't understand. I did not expect anything. I did not expect anything from him, and it did not fail.
Cyclone Chido is the worst storm the area has faced in 90 years. Mayotte officials have only been able to confirm 31 deaths. However, some are concerned that thousands of people may have been killed. The most affected neighborhoods, the hillside shanty towns, have still not been reached by rescue workers.
I think it's a shame that a president came to a territory in a situation like this to address the population this way, because I don't think it's just Mayotte that has suffered the situation. There are several people who have suffered this disaster, and yet they have managed to get through it without France being there.
The population struggling to cope with the scale of the disaster in Mayotte, the poorest of France's overseas territories, targeted him.
With all the promises he'd made to us about Mayotte that he'd never kept, I was really shocked.
According to the official 2023 budget documents, the French government spent approximately 1.6 billion euros per year on Mayotte, which accounts for about 8% of the budget allocated to overseas territories, or 4,900 euros per inhabitant. This figure is €7,200 for residents of Reunion Islands and €8,500 for residents of Guadeloupe.
Meanwhile, Macron has sparked fresh controversy with remarks on Mayotte. In an interview following his visit to the cyclone-hit territory, Macron stated that some people in the crowd had been insulting France. His comments come after a tense exchange with locals and boos he received.
During his visit to Mayotte on Thursday, Macron told residents, "You are happy to be in France. If it wasn't for France, you would be in way deeper shit, 10,000 times more. There is no place in the Indian Ocean where people receive more help." His remarks were met with jeers from the crowd. Macron's off-the-cuff remarks sparked backlash at home, with opposition lawmakers accusing him of being insensitive and condescending. This latest controversy adds to a growing list of public statements over his 7 years as president that have drawn sharp criticism and contributed to a significant drop in his popularity.
Cuba is enduring a worsening economic crisis that the government blames on U.S. sanctions that have been in place since 1962. The economic blockade takes a devastating toll on the country's agriculture, with farmers and residents calling for change. Meanwhile, thousands of Cubans marched in front of the U.S. Embassy in Havana to protest long-standing sanctions.
On the outskirts of Havana, farmer Jose Sosa struggles to keep his 18-hectare farm running under crippling U.S. sanctions. With no access to modern machinery or fertilizers, Sosa relies on oxen and organic methods to grow staple crops like cassava and tomatoes.
We do not have the resources we need to take care of the plantations. All these limitations have us exhausted.
The blockade impacts livestock too. Milk production has plummeted, leaving children and the elderly without adequate nutrition. Resident Manuel Reistra highlights the human toll.
But nutrition depends on other, bigger things. Look at the clear examples with children's milk. What a great thing baby's milk. In any country in the world, children's nutrition is strong because milk is their fundamental food. However, in the country we are going through a serious problem. That has nothing to do with the system or the governors. It is a humanistic problem, really humanistic, right?
The Cuban government estimates $271 million in agricultural losses over 6 months, intensifying calls for an end to the decades-long sanctions. This sentiment was echoed during a large protest in Havana this week, where thousands marched to condemn the blockade. Demonstrators rallied near the U.S. Embassy, holding Cuban flags and calling for Cuba's removal from the state sponsors of terrorism list.
It is the same hand that we have extended to all the governments of the United States, from the triumph of the revolution to today, always in terms of a serious, respectful relationship. But if the United States persists in its efforts to break our sovereignty, our independence, our socialism, they will only find rebellion and intransigence.
As Cuba faces mounting challenges, the march sends a message of defiance and determination to address the island's struggles.
4 people were killed in southwest Turkey when an ambulance helicopter collided with a hospital building and crashed into the ground. The cause of the accident is being investigated.
This is the wreckage after an ambulance helicopter impacted a hospital building upon takeoff in Turkey. 4 people have been killed in the incident, which happened at the Muğla Training and Research Hospital.
2 pilots, 1 doctor and 1 personnel that were in the helicopter passed away. There is intense fog. The reason for the crash is being investigated.
The helicopter, which belongs to the Health Ministry, hit the 4th floor of the hospital before falling to the ground. Emergency teams responded to the tragic incident shortly after it occurred. No one both inside the building or on the ground was hurt during the accident. The president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, expresses his condolences to the families of the deceased in a statement on social media. An investigation has been opened into the cause of the crash.
Hundreds of Israeli protesters took to the streets of Tel Aviv, demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his government. Demonstrators say they're fed up with what they call terrible decisions.
In Tel Aviv, large crowds gathered, waving Israeli flags and holding placards calling for a new government. Protesters chanted and drummed, creating a colourful and powerful scene in the city square. Among them was Amit Shurin, who joined the demonstration with his daughters. Holding a sign criticising both Justice Minister Yariv Levin and Sarah Netanyahu, Shurin expressed frustration.
We're here today to demonstrate against the terrible Israeli government that makes terrible decisions about our future.
Another protester, Yove Poor, said they released balloons with pictures of government officials, symbolising their wish for them to leave office.
Here we are having each one of the government member on a balloon, and we want to make them fly away high above the air, high in the air, high above the earth. We don't want them anymore here. Their time is up. We are sick of them. We want a new government, a responsible government that can take care of the citizen and the population of Israel.
The protest comes amid Netanyahu's corruption trial, and as sources suggest, the Prime Minister may soon agree to a ceasefire with Hamas to end the 14-month-long Gaza war. Demonstrators say leadership change is essential for Israel's future.
Over in Damascus, Syria's de facto ruler Ahmed al-Shara hosted Lebanese Druze leader Walid Jumblat in another effort to reassure minorities they will be protected after his rebel group led the ouster of Bashar al-Assad 2 weeks ago. Shara said no minorities would be excluded in Syria in what he described as a new era, far removed from sectarianism. Jumblat, a prominent Druze leader, said at the meeting that Assad's ouster should usher in a new, constructive relation between Lebanon and Syria. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan also met with Syria's de facto leader Ahmed al-Shara, Ankara said, without providing further details. Footage shared by the Turkish Foreign Ministry showed Fidan and Shara, leader of the group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which led the operation to topple Assad 2 weeks ago, hug and shake hands. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had said on Friday that Fidan would be going to Damascus to discuss the new structure in Syria. Still in Syria, former security forces of the ousted President Assad are handing over their weapons to the new authorities and getting their temporary papers.
Former Syrian security forces are queuing up to hand over their weapons and receive temporary settlement cards from the country's de facto authority, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. These security forces served under the former president, Bashar al-Assad, who was ousted by a rebel group that has taken control of the country. Now they return state-issued valuables, among other items, as part of a reconciliation process, aiming to reintegrate Assad's forces in the new Syria.
Today, I came to settle my army situation, as there is a new page in the country now. God willing, we hope that Commander Ahmed al-Shara will be by our side, hand in hand, and that he will forgive the entire country for everything it has been through, because we have been through a lot of difficult circumstances.
Participants received temporary cards, valid for 3 months, while their status is reviewed. The new authorities say those without criminal charges will be allowed to resume normal civilian life.
This is a settlement center for settling the status of security personnel, army personnel, and recruits affiliated with the remnants of the former regime. Those who come to the center here hand over their covenant, weapons, and valuable belongings to the Syrian state, and they're given a temporary card for 3 months. The future is subject to the leadership's decision, of course. Those who did not shed our blood will live a normal life like any citizen, but those who are legally liable and those who have cases will of course face the judiciary and the competent courts.
Research carried out by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons suggests that Assad's government is responsible for many atrocities as it tried to tackle political dissent with the use of chemical weapons in rebel areas that killed dozens of civilians.
In some lighter news, Santa Claus takes his holiday spirit underwater in Brazil, diving with fish and sharks at Rio de Janeiro's Aquário. The submerged scenery was complete with a Christmas tree and lights.
At Rio de Janeiro's Aquário, Scuba Santa delighted audiences by swimming with over 2,000 fish, including sharks and stingrays. Dressed in his classic red suit and flippers, Santa waved to visitors, fed marine life, and even blew bubble kisses from inside the tank. A large submerged Christmas tree and twinkling lights added to the holiday magic, captivating young visitors.
It's very nice. He even feeds the fish, which is already nice. So imagine here in the aquarium.
It's an unbelievable experience. Many people say that Santa Claus only comes on the roof and he comes from the roof, and seeing him in the aquarium is extraordinary.
Brazil's annual Scuba Santa tradition creates unforgettable memories for families, blending the magic of Christmas with the wonder of marine life.
The world's largest indoor ice and snow theme park has officially opened its doors to the public, giving visitors to the city of Harbin in northeast China a chance to feel wintry temperatures year-round.
China has officially opened the world's largest ice and snow theme park in Harbin, which is the capital of the country's Heilongjiang province. 300,000 cubic meters of ice and snow was used to build the park, which has an overall planned area of 1 million square meters. The park's theme is Dream of Winter, Love Among Asia, and marks the 26th edition of the Harbin Ice Snow World, which is a cultural festival commissioned by the Harbin municipal government. Park officials are sending out an invitation to the world.
The Harbin Ice Snow World welcomes visitors from all over the world. Let's enjoy the ice and snow scenery and have fun together.
The park has 9 major zones, recreating landmark landscapes of 42 countries and 3 regions, including replicas of China's Temple of Heaven, Japan's Osaka Castle, and the Taj Mahal in India. Last year, Harbin recorded more than 87 million visitors during the snow season. The Chinese government has unveiled initiatives like dedicated ice and snow holidays in efforts to attract more visitors.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you for tuning in and keep watching A News.